Morning glory and evening grace, America. I'm Hugh, and I've just wrapped up taping an interview with Aviv Reddick-Gur from Israel, which I'll be playing in the next segment. But I opened today's program with Senator Dave McCormick of Pennsylvania. Welcome back, Senator. Good to have you on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Hey, how you doing, Hugh?
I am good, but I am concerned about this war. You are a warrior, a veteran of the 82nd Airborne, West Point. Tell me what you assess of this operation, codenamed by the IDF as Operation Red Wedding, in a reference to that infamous scene in the Game of Thrones.
You know, I was just in the Middle East 2 weeks ago, and I met with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I met with the opposition leader Lapid. I had lunch with the President Herzog, and then I went to the UAE and I met with Sheikh Mohammed, the leader of the UAE. Nobody thinks that it is plausible or acceptable that Iran would have a nuclear weapon. That has to be the starting point for any conversation. President Trump has said that needs to be complete nuclear dismantlement, no enrichment. And so that's our starting point. And why is that? Well, because number one, you can't have a country have a nuclear weapon whose explicit strategy is to destroy Israel and to destroy the great Satan, which is what they say their goal is. And second, should Iran get a nuclear weapon, it would kick off an arms race in the Middle East and a proliferation of nuclear weapons, which would be very, very much against America's interests. So this is an America first priority. You protect America's interests by making sure Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. I think if you'd have looked at October 7th, if we'd have had this conversation and said, where would we be now in June of 2025, we would have never imagined that Israel would have been able to decapitate the terrorist proxies of Hezbollah, of Hamas, that the Syrian regime would have fallen, that Iran would have launched the missile attacks on Israel, and Israel counterattacked and essentially decimated the missile capability and the missile defense in Iran. Iran is at an all-time point of weakness. So A, they can't have a nuclear weapon. B, they're at a point of all-time weakness, and they face a choice. This could end tomorrow if they said, we are going to dismantle our nuclear weapons, open up to the IAEA and other observers, and try to become a peaceful participant in the region. But if they cling on to the notion that they're going to maintain a nuclear capability, we have to take it out now. It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity, and we should stand with Israel and support them in doing so.
Now, Senator McCormick, when you hear from Pennsylvanians, do they support America getting involved directly with an attack, say, on Fordo?
Well, listen, I think, Pennsylvanians and Americans are tired of 20 years of war. They're tired of sending their sons and daughters into Iraq and Afghanistan. And I'm very sympathetic to that. That's the thing I heard. And by the way, it's mostly not the kids of people here in D.C. It's in small towns like Bloomsburg and Scranton, where I grew up. Those are the ones that have borne the burdens of war. So I think we're a very reluctant warrior, a very reluctant nation to get actively involved militarily. My belief is that it's in our interest to ensure Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. It really risks our children, our sons and daughters, if they have one. So I would stand with Israel. I would give them all the air support I needed. I would be reluctant to put American troops in harm's way. I think very selective use of the bunker buster and aerial refueling, if that's needed, I would support. I would trust the president's judgment on that. But it's a very selective, very targeted, with the sole objective of eliminating that nuclear capability. We have learned the hard way. Regime change should not be an American objective. If the people rise up and decide that they want to be governed by a different kind of government, this is the time to do so. We should support that, but we shouldn't seek it as an objective, and we shouldn't play an active role in trying to facilitate it.
Senator, have you had a chance to talk to President Trump about this yet?
You know, I was just in the Oval Office an hour or two ago for a swearing in of one of the ambassadors, Charlie Kushner, and he spoke on it briefly. So I haven't had a one-on-one conversation with him, but I think, I honestly think, Hugh, he's really managed this well, in the sense that he has stood with Israel unequivocally. He's given Israel the support it needs post-October 7th. He's let them do the difficult work of taking out these terrorist proxies. but I also think he genuinely was seeking peace. Steve Witkoff was in the Oval when I was just there, genuinely seeking a peaceful resolution and giving Iran every opportunity to step off this path of destruction. And they simply didn't have the wisdom or the will to do that. And I think he's given them another off-ramp. And so I don't know what he's going to do. He obviously is playing his cards quite close to the vest, which I think is also smart. I would be delighted if Iran said we're ready, but I'm skeptical they will. And I unfortunately think that we're going to need to leave this period knowing that their chances and likelihood of a nuclear weapon has been dramatically reduced.
So, Senator, I listen to Dan Senor's podcast every day whenever it comes out, and he had on Kareem Sajupour today from the Carnegie Endowment, who I think is probably the equal of any Iran expert that the United States has at its availability. He said there's 0% chance that the Ayatollah Khamenei gives up his nuclear weapon. Their sunk costs are so immense, $500 billion of sunk costs to both proxies and into the nuclear weapons, untold opportunity costs. So let's assume that he's correct and they won't take any opportunity because they haven't. If the president asked Dave McCormick, Dave, should I send the B-2s, what would your advice be?
I think under a circumstance where it became clear that they were just simply ruling out any possibility of dismantlement, and it looked like they were going to dig in on maintaining the capability, and assuming the capability is what we're all told it is, and I believe it is based on what I know, I'd authorize that. I'd encourage the president to take that step. I think it'll be a step that if he does take, he'll take reluctantly. He'll want to exercise every other possibility. But in the end, I think if you imagine a scenario where we didn't take that step and Iran reconstitutes itself over the next couple of years and reconstitutes those terrorist proxies, we would look back on this moment and say we had a unique moment of opportunity to really bring stability and security to the Middle East, on a generational opportunity, and we didn't take it. So I think obviously these are always tough choices, but I think that's the direction I would encourage him to go.
I think it's the biggest decision of his very, very decision-filled life, and I hope he makes the right one. Let me switch to two other subjects, Senator. The nomination for Mike Waltz to become the UN ambassador went up last week. It's in front of your committee. Are you guys going to move that to the top of the pile? We really need an ambassador at the UN in these days.
I just saw Mike the other day. I'm not sure whether it will make it to the top, but I'm certainly would be pushing for it to be at the top. And I know Chairman Risch, my good friend, thinks highly of Mike and thinks we need an ambassador too. So I'm hoping we can bring it to the front of the pile. And I agree with you. We need a strong voice at the UN. The UN, without a strong pushback, will inevitably go down paths that make no sense. And listen, we've seen in the case of what's happened in Gaza and Iran and everything else that the UN, left to its own devices, is going to adopt a posture that very much cuts against American interests. So we need a strong voice to counterbalance that, and I think Mike will be a fine ambassador.
No, I don't think you're on finance, but I want to ask you about the big, beautiful bill. The bill that Senator Crapo put out, I like a lot. I don't like a lot. I like the 23% pass-through cut. I don't like it going down to 20%, et cetera, et cetera. All I really want, though, is make sure I don't get a massive tax hike and America does. Will it get out of the Senate quickly?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, the July 4th deadline, I'm the new guy. I'm the rookie in town, so I'm not sure I'm going to put my stake on a particular date, but I think we'll get a vote soon. I think it'll pass, and I think we'll move forward. Last time I was on your show, I think in February, you were asking why the Senate just didn't take the House bill, and I think what's happened is the House bill came out. I think remarkably, by the way. I think if you and I had this conversation, if we did have a version of this conversation, and imagine we'd be where we are in June, where the Speaker, the Majority Leader, and the President were so aligned, where the House had passed the big beautiful bill, passed it on to the Senate, where the Senate is in the midst of this negotiation, which I think will make it better. I think we have our constraints, political constraints. I think it'll be better. I think it'll have some additional cost cutting. I think it'll address some of the things in the House bill that were maybe a little bit off, but still passable. And I don't think failure is an option for the very reason you say, Hugh. Are you kidding me? So a family in Pennsylvania if we don't pass the big beautiful bill, a family in Pennsylvania that makes $50,000 a year, by the way, the median income's $52,000, $50,000 a year, their taxes go up by $2,000. So that's not an option. And the pro-business piece of this, which is the accelerated depreciation, all of that, if you're a business guy, you want to put money out, this is growth-oriented. It's great for Pennsylvania, great for our country.
Dave McCormick, Senator from Pennsylvania, always good to see you. Thank you for joining me today. I hope the next time that we meet, the war is over and the bill is passed, and we can talk about that. Thank you for being there. I'll be right back with Haviv Rettig-Gur from Israel, America. Stay tuned.